featured review, I mean, we had a choice. We could have talked about the movie everybody's talking about this weekend, and that is Kong versus Godzilla, or is it Godzilla versus Kong? I honestly don't remember which way the title goes, but it doesn't really matter.
I think it's HBO Max versus the world, but okay.
Pretty much. But we opted for the Netflix release this week, which is a smaller time movie, but looked a little more interesting, and that is Concrete Cowboy. So I'm going to start talking about this one. Concrete Cowboy is written and directed by Ricky Staub, who is doing his writing and directing debut in this. And it stars Idris Elba and Caleb McLaughlin, who is one of the Stranger Things kids. And Caleb McLaughlin plays Cole, a kid who is constantly getting in trouble, living in Detroit with his mom. And to try and straighten him out, his mom decides that he is going to go and stay with his dad in Philadelphia for the summer. And his dad is Idris Elba, who plays Harp. And we soon find out that his dad is a part of an urban cowboy group in Philadelphia. And this cowboy group is kind of used to help get kids off the streets and help kind of get kids motivated into making something out of their lives. And we find out at the end of the movie that some of the characters were played by actual members of this Philadelphia cowboy group, which was really cool to see because it actually is a real, true thing. We get some side characters in there, like an old childhood friend, Smush, played by Jarrell Jerome from Moonlight. You also have Method Man playing a former member of the cowboy group that is now a police officer that is always kind of looking out for the group as they go along. This movie it's fairly predictable in where it's going. It's pretty formulaic. However, at the same time, it tells the story very well. I really enjoyed watching Cole and seeing his kind of arc and where he goes and what's happening with him. Idris Elba shows that he can really be anything and he can act his way out of a paper bag because he's just awesome. And he totally just dives into this role and you totally can see him just being this guy. I'm giving it 3 stars. And the only reason I'm not going higher is because it is a little predictable. And it's kind of by the books, but if you're looking for like a self-discovery coming of age story, this is a great one to look for and to look out for. Easy to find on Netflix. So 3 stars from me. That's what I'm going for Concrete Cowboy. Let's go to Zach next.
Okay, so this movie is I thought of 3 movies watching this movie, maybe 4. I feel like this movie is a combination of The Rider, although it's actually more The Mustang, which is the ripoff of the Rider. So this is a ripoff of a ripoff. The whole like horse therapy thing, right? You definitely have some boys in the hood in there, right? You got the dynamic between this kind of distant father who's very much against a life of crime in this urban area and the son who's a little disconnected. And then you got a Bronx Tale. Oh, who's he going to side with? Which male role model is he going to go with? Is he going to go with the father? Is he going to go down the straight path? Or is he going to go with this cousin, the Smush character, Jarrell Jerome, and lead this life of crime? This movie, you understated how predictable this movie is, Terry. Every single moment of this movie felt like it was scripted. It was, there was absolutely nothing unique or surprising about it, which is particularly disappointing because, we don't have a lot of cinematic history with black cowboys. Okay, when you think a black actor on a horse, you think Cleavon Little, right? And that's pretty limited. So I was really looking forward to the idea of more black representation in the kind of mythic Western genre on horses. And this movie does have a mostly black cast, and Idris Elba is the best thing about this movie. He is amazing in it. Okay, I don't know if I'd say amazing, but he has one monologue in this movie that is really, really, really good, and where it's the best moment in the movie. It's where he talks about where his son's name derives. But even if you watch that scene, there's like not a really great payoff to it, because he basically says at the end of that scene, this is how you got your name. And the person you're named for also didn't really have a relationship with his dad. And then the scene ends. Like, what? What is that supposed to be saying? Like, okay, they're just always going to be distant. I really thought that the filmmaking aspects of this movie were super gimmicky. I've been seeing this in a lot of Netflix movies, but you know, the slow-mos, let's get rid of those. Okay, there's like 10 times in this movie with the slow-mos for dramatic effect. I'm really tired of the chases in 60 FPS. I'm also tired of the scene when a climactic shootout happens and then the director opts to do those quick dip to black transitions, like interrupting the footage. Come on, I've seen it a million times. This movie has a really unique, specific story that has to be grounded in reality, because otherwise it wouldn't seem believable that horses are just kind of free to roam in this area of North Philadelphia. I had a hard time sympathizing with the idea that these horses are really getting cared for. Like, you got the one horse who's living in the house who's pretty upset. And there's one time when he even runs away. There's another horse who we're told is dead and decaying outside. The horses don't look that great. All I'm saying. So that makes me sympathize a little less with the characters, especially with the whole obligatory subplot of the police are coming in and they're going to take the horses away. You got this heist scene at the end, which is just ridiculous, totally predictable. You have the Smush character, the cousin, talk about his dreams. I think we know what's going to happen when he talks about his dreams, right? I feel like that's screenwriting 101. The best part of this movie, besides the Idris Elba speech, is the end credits. I can't think of a movie where the end credits are actually better than the movie, but I love the idea that this was a real story, and kind of like the Mustang, the Matthias Schoenaerts movie, which this movie is very similar to. I don't know why they had to infuse the whole. There didn't need to be this like hyperkinetic, sensationalized story about gang violence, right? All we needed was this documentary look at this really unique, almost family vibe of these people in this neighborhood. Why not make a documentary? You already have the non-professional actors there. It kind of makes me think what Chloe Zhao would have done with this movie, someone who's also made movies about horses and non-professional actors. So this movie's a pretty big disappointment. I like Caleb McLaughlin on Stranger Things. I think he's talented. This isn't really the right... he's not given a whole lot to deal with. I'm giving it a generous 2 stars, mostly because it's based on a true story. And I feel like hopefully maybe they can have a documentary on the Criterion Extra features of this movie about the real people and what they really do.
All right. So 3 stars from me, 2 stars from Zach. Todd, are you in the middle?
I'm almost exactly with Zach. He actually hit on like so many of the exact same points that I was going to say. But okay. Overall, like, okay, I like that the It and the Stranger Things guys are like actually becoming big deals to get their own projects. But Caleb McLaughlin looks so much like a young Donald Glover. I kind of thought it was at one point. Like, there was this movie made like 20 years ago. But I don't know. The movie has like sort of a quiet tone, and you're supposed to feel like you're an outsider, like you are Cole, getting drawn into this world. But I don't think it really gets there or really gets anywhere. And I was on the same page with the Mustang, which, I mean, using horses as rehabilitation and all that. I thought that movie's way better at doing that. That was actually one of my favorite movies of that year. This one does not compare to that, but it's a really similar story. But once things calm down, it gets a little bit better. The first like half hour, I think, are kind of a slog. It is really predictable, like getting to know the rules, the tough love, warming up to the place, feeling like nobody cares about you, blah, blah, blah. And I like that it's a section of society that you don't really see represented ever in movies, but that's probably because there isn't an interesting movie to make about it. I really was right with Zach. I actually wrote down, I thought that it should have been a 20-minute documentary short, because I think there is an interesting story to tell, just not in movie form. And I don't care about Cole. I mean, it's a run-of-the-mill coming-of-age story. Everything's a metaphor. Everything's over-dramatized. Yeah. Oh, this juvenile delinquent now has to shovel some shit. I feel so bad. No, I really don't care. Like, I mean, it's just like it's just like this, and then it becomes this like over-the-top kid in crime movie. I don't know. It's over-directed and melodramatic in the wrong spots, and I wish I really thought of No Man Land too, because I wanted to just like hang out with the other characters and hear like their stories and hear like how they passed the time. Because honestly, that's all I wanted to do when watching this movie was just like make the time pass, because it was kind of boring. And I really give it 2 stars as well.
Yeah, I will say I did want to spend more time with the guy in the wheelchair that looked like Lakeith Stanfield.
Paris.
Yeah, because I had to make sure that wasn't Lakeith Stanfield for after a little while.
It was totally the role that he would have played. I thought that too. He even had the same like goatee.
I know, he looked just like him. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just got engaged by the story a little more than you guys did, but I see a lot of the stuff you guys are saying, and like I said, that was one of the things I had against it. Is it was predictable, it was very formulaic, but I thought the story was cool, and honestly, Zach said the best part was the closing credits. I think that added to it a lot too, and just to know that this is a real setting. It's one of those where if it's not real, you would never believe it. That there's this group in the projects of Philadelphia that keeps horses. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
but,
honestly, that's the best thing this movie's got going for it, because Paris is an interesting character, right? Like, listening to his monologue about his past, I've heard that same monologue about 1,000 times in movies, right? And I love how everybody just pauses. I think the Issa character pauses what she's doing. Everybody pauses. Oh, we got to pay attention to his monologue here. This is his Best Supporting Actor Oscar moment. But watching the end credits makes me think, well, maybe that actually happened. So I can't totally discount that. And I can't fault the movie for being, like you said, Terry, illogical, because this thing actually exists. I mean, have there been moments when there's the horse running free on a baseball field and they have to lock arms like that? Like, maybe that has actually happened. But what has not happened is a scene where a character gets a brand new pair of shoes and the director does a close-up of it, and we know within the next 5 minutes those shoes are going to have horse shit all over them. I mean, it's little stuff like that makes me feel like a director like Chloe Zhao, but, you know, not a first-time director like this guy. Someone who has more patience and more nuance with the story, to, you know, bring it, make it more relatable instead of this stupid Hollywood gimmick stuff. But you know what? Maybe it also wasn't the director. Maybe Netflix insisted on making it this way. We don't know the full story behind it, but we do know that there is an interesting story here to tell. This just, as Todd said, wasn't the right medium to tell it.
Yeah, this guy, Ricky Staub, has one of the more impressively short IMDb pages from someone who helmed a film starring a big Hollywood star like Idris Elba. His only other directing credit is a short that he made 3 years ago that he also wrote, called The Cage. And then he was a production assistant for 4 things, and he wrote 2 other shorts. That's literally his entire IMDb page. Oh, I guess he acted in 2 shorts and then a movie as a bartender. I mean, this guy literally came out of nowhere and now has a feature film with Idris Elba. So, I mean, you got to give him some credit for coming up with this out of nowhere, and first time writer, first time director. But yeah,
shows.
It could have been better, but I still think it's engaging enough for me to give it 3 stars.
And I also think if anybody is thinking about a black man on a horse, I think everybody thinks about Django Unchained. I don't think
that's
the
a good
first
point.
thing is Blazing Saddles. No.
Anyways, all right. Well, that is Concrete Cowboy. I forgot to show this at the beginning, so there it is. Concrete Cowboy. I'm giving it 3 stars. Todd, Zach are giving it 2 stars.
This should be a Twitter question. When you think black man on a horse, do you think Cleavon Little or Jamie Foxx? Or someone else, maybe Morgan Freeman in Unforgiven?